The window for NFL teams to use their franchise tags is nearly closed, but within this last week, teams have made a few surprise roster cuts. And that has opened up the free agent market, new trade scenarios, and cleared up the all too precious cap space. We also saw a $15 million bump in the 2024 salary cap, which really helped teams like the Broncos, Saints, 49ers, and Cowboys, who were in cap hell, now officially in cap purgatory. Not only will I reveal the surprise free agents via full releases, I'll break down possible fits for each of these new to the market players. And I'm going to answer the most important question in the NFL right now. Did Meek Mill have gay intercourse with P. Diddy? I'm Brandon Perna. This is That's Good Sports. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel, and if you want to advance your career, consider having sex with my coffee. My coffee. The P. Diddy of advancing your career. Just do it. Benchwarmerbrew.com. That's where you can have sex with my coffee. I'm sure the following releases did not surprise fans who pay close attention to these teams. Paying attention to the NFL salary cap situation is such like a diehard fan thing to do. I had no idea the Bengals had $52 million in cap space. Of course they're going to pay T. Higgins. Having that much wiggle room and not paying a receiver who might be a number one target on like 15 other teams would just be so dumb. So I'm going to begin with the player who I loved, the one who got away. I'm talking edge rusher Shaq Barrett, free agent. The Buccaneers are slated to make Shaq a post-June 1st cut, which means they will carry his $14 million cap hit until June 1st. After June 1st, the Bucs will free up $9.26 million in 2024 and $17 million in 2025. Tampa will have roughly $50 million in cap room to massage, don't make a Robert Kraft or Deshaun Watson reference, in 2024. This will allow Tampa to get a deal done with quarterback Baker Mayfield, who is projected to receive a 4-year, $120 million deal. Not bad for a dude who bet on himself and will now get a projected $85 million guaranteed. Not to mention all the money Baker will save by never, ever having to buy another trench coat again. Now, the Shaq Barrett move is also making room for the Buccaneers to get a deal done with safety Antoine Winfield Jr. and possibly receiver Mike Evans. As for Shaq, who received a 4-year, $68 million deal in 2021, he's free to sign with any team he chooses, the Broncos, when the new league year starts on March 13th. Barrett earned his payday after the Broncos released him, and he signed with the Bucs in 2019 and then went on to earn second-team All-Pro honors and lead the league in sacks with 19 and a half. Sack Barrett, as I nicknamed him, edged out Chandler Jones that year by a half a sack for the crown. After committing the ultimate sin in helping Tom Brady win a Super Bowl in 2020, Shaq's production has dropped due to tearing his Achilles in 2022. He did start every game last season, but only generated 4.5 sacks. He also generated 49 pressures and is a well-rounded edge defender. I think there's a lot to be said for a guy who played 651 snaps on defense after tearing his Achilles. Now, he's not going to get 19 sacks again, but I think he could be the best rotational edge rusher available. He could start on edge for, say, the Broncos after what I watched last year, and I think Shaq returning to Denver actually makes sense. The need is there, as is Shaq's 8,190 square foot home. It also makes sense financially, as the Broncos do not intend to make a splash signing this period, and Barrett will be in that second wave of signings, possibly third due to his age and injury. His 49 pressures were down for him, but that would have been the most pressures from a single player on the edge spot for the Cardinals, Falcons, Panthers, Colts, Patriots, Giants, Seahawks, and Commanders. I think he fits all of those teams except Seattle and New York, who I just don't see spending the money on him in free agency. The Atlanta Falcons released tight end Jonnu Smith. Falcons fans probably aren't surprised by this, and fantasy owners are thrilled that Jonnu Smith will not be robbing Kyle Pitts of the precious, precious fantasy points that are so elusive to him. Now, Jonnu caught 50 passes last season for 582 yards and 3 TDs. Arthur Smith loves him some Jonnu, and that's the most receptions he's had since last playing with Arthur in Tennessee, when he had an insanely efficient 8-touchdown season on just 41 grabs. I mentioned in the last free agent video, the tight end market is more barren than Clark Hunt's bank account anytime the Chiefs facilities need a fucking upgrade. I love Jonnu for a tight end needy team. If the Steelers didn't have Pat Freiermuth and road paver Darnell Washington, I could see Jonnu following Arthur Smith again.
Has it gone through your mind being reunited with Arthur Smith and being back in this offense? What will that mean for you and your game, Mr. Smith?
Yeah, that's only about the millionth time I've been asked that today.
He's athletically gifted, he can block. Kyle Pitts had 3 more receptions than him on 17 more targets last year and the same number of TDs. The Chargers will lose Gerald Everett, and I think Smith would be an upgrade there. The Dolphins have a need at tight end, just not the cap space. But hell, I'd love to see Jonnu go to Carolina and give Bryce Young a legit, reliable pass-catching tight end to throw to. Despite having no elite talent on offense, the Panthers only have the 15th most cap space right now, which means they're overpaying a lot of dudes. Carolina needs him the most, but I think his best fit is with Herbert and Harbaugh in LA. It is the offseason, which means my brain is running out of ideas, so please, send me some ideas of videos you want to see in the comments, and don't forget to thumbs up this video. I'm not going to stop until you fucking thumbs up the video, you sickos. Did you do it? Okay, I'll stop. Then we've got Xavier Howard. The most surprising release for me was Dolphins corner Xavier Howard. Shout out to the Dolphins for essentially being the best organization in the NFL last season, according to the players. The problem for Howard is twofold. Most importantly, his talent doesn't outweigh the controversy anymore. And Miami will be able to free up about 17 or 18 million in cap space by releasing him. Howard's performance on the field has declined since his 10 interception season in 2020. The Dolphins are in a precarious cap situation. They need to pay Tua, and the top cap hits belong to Tyreek Hill, Jalen Ramsey, Bradley Chubb, Howard, and Terron Armstead. Howard being the only guy they drafted on that list. Now, his post-June 1st release will save the team $18.5 million in cap room. An interesting nugget, though, was dropped today. The Dolphins are apparently open to bringing Howard back. They haven't ruled it out, obviously, on a much more team-friendly deal. And while his play has declined, he's still a pretty good corner. It's really hard to live up to a 10-pick season, but you will see teams like the Cowboys, Rams, Lions, Raiders, and even Texans willingly give him more money than I think the Dolphins can. Now, the other reasons he was expendable, his penis problems. If you're not familiar, Xavier Howard has a very strange history with women. A woman allegedly tried to extort him with a sex video, which he did not consent to being filmed. A woman filed a lawsuit for an alleged STD he knowingly passed along to her. There's been weird paternity suits, 4 women alleging that he got them all pregnant at the same time, which I wish literally meant at the exact same time, but I think they were all just pregnant in the same general time. Howard was also arrested for domestic battery back in 2019, so he's got a very consistent history of treating women poorly and never taking responsibility for the actions of his penis. I mean, Vic Fangio left after 1 season because he said, and I quote, "Every time I stepped in that locker room, Xavier Howard tried to give me herpes." That said, he's going to be highly sought after. Now, the Chiefs released wide receiver Marquez Valdez-Scantling. It's not a surprise to anyone that the Chiefs have begun the process of clearing out cap space and the wide receiver room. And while none of the Tyreek Hill replacements have panned out, Mecole Hardman, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, and MVS, of those 4 players, MVS seemed to be the most important for the Chiefs' success in the postseason. Yes, Hardman caught the Super Bowl game-winning touchdown, but my toddler could have caught that pass and run that route. I'm sure the Chiefs would have preferred to release Kadarius Toney or Sky Moore, but MVS was carrying the biggest salary. His release saves them about $12 million in cap space with just $2 million in dead money. Dead money, of course, is the money that will be paid out to my family when I die in 2025 if the Chiefs win 3 straight fucking Super Bowls. MVS has always had one major flaw, and it's dropping passes in big moments. Dropped it! Again, he was lights out in the playoffs, and with his size and speed, someone will see him as a nice wide receiver 2 option. The obvious connection is Aaron Rodgers, and if the Jets don't draft a year 1 impact receiver, we all know Aaron will be begging for him in gangrene. Just like some people beg for Aaron to get gangrene just to see if he tries to heal it with witch's potion. Not me, I don't wish that, but people have. I also kind of like the Texans to kick the tires on MVS. They've got Nico Collins, Tank Dell coming back from injury, but just maybe a nice piece there in case another injury happens for the Texans. Also the Titans. The Titans can always use receivers, can't they? Now the Chiefs are also expected to tag corner L'Jarius Sneed, but they have also given him permission to seek a trade. That's a bit odd because the tag makes his trade price steep. For the Chiefs, it's smart, but I feel like that kind of limits Sneed's options just a bit. This 100% means, though, that Chris Jones will be back for the Chiefs, playing for, again, the shittiest owner in the league. Did I mention Clark Hunt sucks and all his players hate him? Did I mention that? It's all I have. Let me have it. And finally, Jets backup quarterback and former 2nd overall draft pick Zachy Wilson has been given permission to seek a trade. Now, per several NFL GMs, Zach's best fit is with whichever NFL city has the most middle-aged women, most likely stepmoms who just also happen to get stuck under various tables or pieces of furniture around the house. Zach Wilson arguably went to the worst situation on earth for him. He went to a dysfunctional organization who hired a defensive head coach with no plan to develop Zach. No real plan. Wilson should have never been drafted as high as he was. That's not his fault, but his rise to become the 2nd overall pick is one of the weirdest things I've ever witnessed. Zach started week 1 that year with a QB room of Josh Johnson, Mike White, and Joe Flacco. Don't get me wrong, Zach has not been good, but going into year 3 and unexpectedly having to start with Nathaniel Hackett as your OC is a disaster for a young QB. Just this week, we had Mecole Hardman tweet that the Jets' offensive coaching staff is a joke and that it was Aaron Rodgers' show, and when he went down, there was no plan. Hardman got traded back to Kansas City, of course, again caught that game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl, so I actually believe him. He's pointing out the difference between a well-run offense and chaos. And yes, because of Andy Reid, the Chiefs are a well-run team, despite, did I mention, having the worst fucking owner on earth? Are the Chiefs the NFL team version of Aaron Rodgers, where they play better because of spite? Did they just win a spite Super Bowl? Unfortunately for Zach Wilson, I digress, I don't think the trade market will be hot for him. Duh. Maybe non-existent until after the draft. I hope he gets a shot somewhere, though. I think a team like Seattle, who may be interested in drafting a QB in the 3rd round, could also take a flyer on Wilson, who is just a year older than Bo Nix and Michael Penix. It's hard to project a good fit for Zach Wilson because we really don't know what his strengths are. I actually think he can be a viable backup, and with his experience, you're looking for him to be in a situation where at some point, maybe he can take the reins. The Saints could make sense. And if the Colts lose Gardner Minshew in free agency, I like Zach Wilson backing up Anthony Richardson and learning from QB whisperer Shane Steichen, who we've now seen get the best out of quarterbacks Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, and yes, Gardner Minshew. 3 very different quarterbacks too. Think about that. Steichen is like a guy who can hit a 300-yard drive with any club in his bag, including that weird thing you use to extend and get balls out of the water. He's that good. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports. Please, again, subscribe here and feel free to check out some of my other videos. What tickles your fancy? What video should I do next?